following show may shock, disturb, and offend some viewers. The opinions, theories, and facts shared on this podcast are not widely accepted by the brainwashed masses, especially those who find dark humor offensive. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood. The Unabomber blowing up. Waco, Texas, and Heaven's Gates. Aliens modified, meant for apes. JFK shot in the head by the CIA. Bigfoot and the Mothman. Son of Sam talking to dogs again. Witches, ghosts, and goblins. Mysterious noise and hauntings. Dark arts in the skull and bones. Most celebrities are probably cloned. So if you're feeling all alone, crack a beer and get stoned. I welcome you to the podcast Strange Brew. We're here to entertain you. We're here to entertain you.
It's about to get strange.
You're damn right is going to. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I am your host, Tomcat, a.k.a. Tom Thompson, the Raptillion. And who am I joined by?
A spooky little horror boy, Aran, one of the hosts and founder of Glass Horrorcast, I suppose you could call it that. Still don't. I was trying to come up with something to tie into this episode, but I was like, I couldn't find anything that was that.
Tinfoil Terry.
That's actually not bad. that reminds me of a scary Terry from.
Oh yeah.
From Rick and Morty.
The fake Freddy Krueger thing.
Yeah, I love him.
It is bloody hot out. It's hot.
Oh, dude, it's bad
it's
here
so
too.
Crazy. It's deadly, bro. It's fucking hot out. Stock like some like Albertan native.
Oh, I thought you were going like Indian again.
No, that's like how they sound like in Alberta. It's bloody. It's now that's going. Indian. It's like it's so hot out. So
I'll be honest, right? I want a petition for you to just talk in that Indian accent forever.
Dude, wait, we have some episodes to do with India pretty soon that are like, one is like a paranormal thing, and then one kind of ties into Jeff the Talking Mongoose, but which I've been.
I still think that it's a great idea that people should donate to send both of us to India for like a month with a camera crew.
Yeah, because they're always like, it's not that bad. You're showing one part, and then
just watch us sit on a beach that's full of like trash and like garbage and all, recording a live podcast sitting on a beach with all Indians screaming.
There was like 500 downloads from India last week, just within that week, and I was like, there's no way. And it's like, I don't even have anything really against them. I have something against them coming into my country. And that's it. Like, and like distorting it, because that's what's happening. Like, they just did the Calgary Stampede or whatever. And it's like a whole, like, it's a festival thing for like all like the kind of cowboy stuff out in Alberta. And they did a whole like thing walking down the field of all their weird dance moves. And I'm like, this is not India. This is Canada. Why the fuck are we like tolerating any of this stuff? Because if we did it there, probably wouldn't go so well, you know?
No, I would imagine so.
I'm finally here when you're streaming. Yeah, yeah. It goes. It's I usually like to tell you that we're live on the stream and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just you know. So obviously they keep bragging they're taking over, so I'm gonna keep making fun of them. You know, it's like one guy tried to argue. He's like, someone's like, well, what's this then? And it's like the trash pile next to the Taj Mahal in like their main city, like the what do they call it, the Trash Mahal or whatever, and he's like, that's just a landfill. And the guy's like, is it though? Like, look at what it looks like. Like, that's not a landfill. That is just like a pile of garbage that you guys just all threw in the center of your city and then lit it on fire.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. Like, it's just fucking, I don't know.
Obviously,
we're living in some weird, like, alternate universe anyway.
Yeah. Dude, I had a dream last night because we're doing this in an early, it's early morning, having our coffee. There's this thing called vodka. And it's like it's like, actually, because dairy doesn't tolerate me no more. But it's like lactose free or whatever. And it's like pretty good. I was having 2 over ice, and it was like, there's only so many like liquor drinks you can have like that are milk based or whatever, like cream based over like ice. And it's actually pretty good. They have a coconut one. I bought just out of curiosity they have a banana one, and it tastes just like what you think it does. It tastes like that weird banana medicine, like to a T exactly.
Oh, remember that shit?
Yeah. exactly the same. So I
Oh,
put some.
what
in my
was that
coffee.
for again? Actually,
I don't know, like a stomach. I don't even remember because everyone knows and everyone took it. Like I definitely like remember like
yeah,
in the like plastic
weird.
spoon, and I'm like, ugh, and you're at the hospital or something. Yeah, not fun. So you know, like I don't even know what I was talking about, but this will be a fun episode. You know, I had my little coffee vodka as I was saying, and smoked a little joint. And yes, it is early. You know, it's an early morning for the boys.
Not so much for me, but
I guess it isn't for you.
well, kind of. It does kind of feel early,
Does it?
considering that like a lot of times we record, it's like 10:30 p.m. my time.
It's true. That's true. I had a point I was gonna make with whatever you said, but I do not remember.
Yeah, that's fine. It's early morning. Who cares?
Yeah. What are we talking about, Aaron? When's the first time you heard about the Philadelphia experiment?
Also, R.I.P. I think it is his name, Mark Snow.
Who the hell is Mark Snow?
Yeah, the guy who made the X-Files theme song.
Oh, he's dead?
He died like a day ago, I think.
Wow.
He died on July 4th. Yeah, R.I.P. to him.
Goodbye, sir.
Yeah, he done. Let's see what most notable for the X-Files theme. He also done stuff for Smallville, Blue Bloods, Ghost Whisperer, One Tree Hill, Twilight Zone, Starsky and Hutch.
What's Ghost Whisperer?
No idea. Just said it. He was there. I just said it. I was like, yeah, whatever.
I'm gonna scare you.
Yeah, done a lot of movies and stuff as well.
Well, R.I.P. Thank you for making a sound effect that I constantly use.
I wonder, right, when
Just sets it in
someone
the
like
mood.
comes up with something like that, though, like were they in the studio or whatever, and he came up with that, and like everyone just looks at each other and goes, "Oh yeah,
that hits.
yes."
That hits. Oh, like when Kanye did the Hail Hitler song, they're like, yes.
Just everyone's like, "Yes, good stuff."
And they're all like putting their arms up. This is exactly what we needed. And it was interesting because I talked about this just off topic of that song of like, if people got so offended by it, he was essentially saying, like, fuck you. That was it. That I from my point of view, he was essentially saying, well, if you're gonna make me and paint me out to this like crazy villain, I'm just gonna be that crazy villain. And that's how crazy he is, because he's like fuck you. I'm gonna do this anyway, just because I know it's gonna piss you off. That's why he says, like, you took my kids away from me, blah blah blah. So I became a Nazi. And he meant I became a villain. You know, I'm just gonna embrace being this villain that you guys created. And now supposedly I heard that he apologized. That he said sorry to the Jays.
You won't like that, will you?
Well, you should kind of stick to your guns, if anything. I found out about the Philadelphia experiment through 2 shitty movies they made in the 90s. I've never seen any of the movies. I heard that they're really bad, and I don't really want to stomach through them. And they did 2 different
not,
ones.
Yeah, they're not worth it. So you have
Malcolm McDowell's in the
So
wow.
so that's the remake.
This one.
So you have the Philadelphia experiment from 1984.
Mm-hmm.
It was released by New World Pictures. Only earned 8.1 million against a budget of 9 million, so it didn't even make its money back.
Wow.
And then so you had that, right? And then they thought, oh, that done so bad. A really good idea would be to make a sequel like 6 years later in 1993.
Malcolm McDowell.
No, a sequel called The Philadelphia Experiment 2. All new cast, only 2 characters came back, and the hero from the first one comes back, and it's like a whole different plot and stuff. And as you can imagine, that also was terribly received. So much so that they spent $5 million on the budget, and it made $2,900.
That's crazy.
And then they were like, years and years and years later, they were like, right, so those 2 movies done really, really shit. So now what we should do is
the second
we
one,
should
the
make
Nazis won. Oh, that would have been a crazy world to live in.
then the ones that you were showing with Malcolm McDowell. So then they decided in 2012 that the best thing to do would be make a TV version of it.
Is that what both of these are? I thought this was the 80s one.
And that one could be. with like
And
yeah, that's the one, the 2012 one. It's a remake of the 1984 film of the same name. Blah blah blah. Let's see what else. Critics say that they felt so pummeled by the rapid pace of everything that the clever and sentimental ending didn't make much of an impression. It seemed like it was sort of fun to watch in a way that the bad movies sometimes are. Ripe with bad effects work, goofy performances, and logic gaps big enough to transport a full battleship crew. Doesn't improve upon the premise of scientists cracking invisibility. And I think, let me see, did it give any sort of... No, they don't even have like a box office or like not a box office, a budget. So I would imagine it
pretty
was
sure it didn't do that well then.
probably shocking, especially if it was made for TV.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Philadelphia experiment. This will be interesting. This isn't just about radar and visibility. This was a full-scale military experiment, interdimensional travel, teleportation, time manipulation, and possibly even alien contact, all under the cloak of wartime secrecy. Anonymous Navy contractor, declassified in part. So we don't even know if he actually said that.
I love that hard cut there. You just like stop the music and just go, yeah.
I don't even know if that was true or not. It is like they do so much of this stuff. Like this could be a good movie, right? And today, like if it could be. If you actually
it was a TV movie. Whoever made that comment, it wasn't a TV series. Sorry, it was a TV movie.
Like it, which Tim Curry means a totally different thing over here. It's a guy pumping my gas now.
Christ.
Why not, man? You're going to come here and bang your Bangladesh drums in my parade, so I'm not going to be happy about it. So in the early 1940s, while the world was locked into the throes of World War II, the U.S. Navy was involved in a much more than just building battleships and defending coastlines. According to declassified whistleblower and alternative historians, a covert research project, Operation Rainbow, was launched to push boundaries of physics itself. At the center of a classified operation, the USS Eldridge, DE-173, a newly commissioned destroyer escort that would soon become the centerpiece of one of the most disturbing cover-ups of experiments in American history. Military history. The Philadelphia experiment.
Yes, guys, you're going to hear that a lot in this episode.
I know.
Do you know what's actually real cool about that as well? Every time you play that, I think, oh, haha, I have an X-Files tattoo.
Yeah. Someone's going to peel off your skin and like put it on like a wall or something.
Do you know what it's going to be after a while, though? I'll probably be preserved like a fossil, and it'll be all this lost media that we're not allowed to have anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
And like, this guy has it on his skin. Preserve him.
If they preserved your skin, they could make a little art piece.
Like when they delete all the movies and TV shows that we like because they'll find a problem with everything, then it'll be like, oh, this hieroglyphic here was from a lost time and there was a TV show called The X-Files.
Yeah, it's true. And Scooby-Doo or whatever. It is funny because even like how we went so far off topic, it won't be out yet the time people see this on video, because especially audio, just it's the way the show goes. We like go on live for stuff and then kind of goes all over the place. But the House on Haunted Hill, when I was trying to tell you about that, I was like, we're going way off topic. Talk about the Chinese, the art pieces where they used like the inside of somebody's body to show and articulate like the organs and the autonomy of a person, and they were Chinese political dissidents that they killed, like prisoners of war, political prisoners that they then used to display in an art museum real life bodies. And people like I think Australia showcased this museum piece. And then all these controversy came up because like, all of these Chinese people are actually like real people that got probably tortured. Can you look it up quickly while I maybe go through the intro of this? Look up Chinese political prisoner museum bodies, something like that. I just wanted you to bring up the images because I don't know if it will fail my computer because for some reason I have terrible internet that I spend so much money on. So yeah, this would become the Philadelphia experiment. The the primary object officially wanted to achieve radar invisibility through electromagnetic cloaking. But the experiment went far beyond that. Insiders claim that the operation involved reworking mathematical frameworks of Albert Einstein's unified field theory, integrating the electromagnetic resonancy research of Nikola Tesla, and quantum wave manipulation decades ahead of mainstream science. Supposedly, it was a project to unify general relativity with electromagnetism, essentially bending the very laws of nature. Did you find it?
I did.
Bringing up an image of it. It looks wild.
Yeah, I don't have an image, but it's an article. But there is images.
Oh, it's crazy, dude. And it's like, imagine you're like, oh, I did not mean to do that. And it's like, now I'm on display. I just said, no, I don't want to be locked in my house for COVID. It's from way back in the day. Isn't that crazy? Supposedly all the bodies were like political prisoners.
This is only from 2021.
That is wow. Like, we do not have any human rights over here. It's like, let's take a picture of this like exposed body being torn apart, and then it's like this guy was like tortured by the government, and then like we're going to put his body on display.
It says they said the cadavers used in the international touring show called Real Bodies, which was seen at the National Exhibition Center in Birmingham in 2018, were probably people who had been executed in China. They were stripped of their skin, dissected, and shown part of their internal anatomy, and then infused with plastic, which gradually hardened, a process known as plastination. Corpses were acquired from the Chinese police, according to previous investigation by New York Attorney General's office. Let's see, I seen something else here that was kind of interesting. In June 2019, the tribunal concluded that forced organ harvesting had been committed for years throughout China on a significant scale.
Dude, they're doing that here. That MAID program of medical assistance in dying. Come jump into the pod and kill yourself. They're using in Canada now. We're like leading, I think we're like up there though, of like organ transplants and stuff like that, because they're taking the organs of the people that they're with MAID, that they're like medical suiciding, which is such a crazy term. And pretty nuts. Right next door to McDonald's on beef factory.
Here's something, and I'd like to get your opinion and others just really quick, like not to go completely off tangent, but what's your opinion on organ donation?
Me and Billy had this conversation. I was like, I'm keeping it for myself. I want to be turned into a mushroom. That was my whole thing. And we went, Billy's like, if you're not using them, use up the pieces.
And so do you think then, right? So here's an example. So there's an ongoing thing in Ireland at the minute, right? Obviously you always had to opt in for being...
What's your mate offer? Your dick? You gonna give up your dick? Is that...
You had to opt in like to be an organ donor, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in like a car crash or something like that and you die,
yeah,
they would check your ID or whatever, and they'd be able to tell like, oh yeah, he's up for organ donation, blah, blah, blah. So now they've done a thing in Ireland where everybody in the entire country is automatically opted in.
Of course,
and you have to go through a process to like opt out. Okay,
they own us, man. They
own us. You can opt out, but you have to choose to opt out, if you know what I mean. So if you don't do anything, your organs will be donated automatically, and you won't have a choice. Your family can't stop it. Nothing can stop it unless you've opted out. Okay, so now like there's a big debate now in Ireland where people are like, well, that's fucking sick. We should be given the option to opt in. And then just leave it at that. I don't need to be opted in, and then I have to do something to get back out of it. But then there's the other side that say, okay, right, well, that's fair. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But what do you think it is? A lot of people now are coming out and saying, okay, that's fine. You want to opt out of donating your organs. Then you should also have something on your whatever. Like, so let's say I opt out, right? Let's say I opt
resuscitate?
out. No, yeah, well, kind of. So like, it's like, let's say I opt out of donating my organs. And that will have a thing on my ID or wherever on my file to say, like, I'm not an organ donor. That then if something happens to me and I need a transplant, that I shouldn't be eligible to have a transplant because I've taken myself off the donor list.
I don't agree with that though, because it's a choice, right? Like,
That's a weird way of like framing it though, isn't it? It's like a really, it's that like weird kind of, I think manipulation tactic that sides use
you
to
know how
be
much
like,
organs are sold on the black market, dude?
and somebody else I seen online made another really good point. They were like, my fear and the reason I took myself off the donation list is because I feel that if I was to be like maybe in a serious accident or something where I was pretty fucked up, they may look at my file and see, okay, he's an organ donor. It would actually be less hassle for us to just allow him to die
Yeah.
than
I
to
know.
like put the effort into
That's
like keeping you alive.
That's what people are saying in the chat. Oh, he opted out. Guess I'm gonna actually have to try and save him because like they're doing this stuff all the time. They're doing the MAID program, and then you like think of it. That's what I will always bring this up because this is crazy. Over 60,000 men died in World War II from Canada. There has been more people that have been killed by MAID, unalive by MAID, because you can't. Someone's bringing that up there. Why we have to say that? And it's like because literally
MAID
things
is
get,
what?
medical assistant and dying. So they're saying it's only for people that are like terminally ill or old people that just sign up, and then they actually try to convince them instead of
Euthanize you.
Yes, yeah, 100%. So there's a place in Canada that they, I think, it was in Canada.
It's legal, is it?
Oh yeah,
That's illegal here.
Yeah, they're killing it. Where all the Canadians go.
Now.
They're signing them up for
bookmark this, everybody. It's what is it? Sunday, 6th of July, 2025. It is currently still illegal to euthanize people in Ireland, but
they do it here, man, and they're trying to push it literally on kids. There was pamphlets that went out. It's nuts. Of trying to push it on like mentally, like kids that are sad, and so they're doing this, and now so 60,000 people died during World War II, just over in Canada, right? More people have been unalive by MAID. And it's essentially they're euthanizing people, and especially they're trying to convince old people. And there's a palliative care place that was built through donations, and they wouldn't let them have the building unless they had the MAID program. So a privately owned place, you have to make sure that you have the euthanized program, or we're not going to let you function. That's how sick Canada has gotten. This country is like literally some sort of dystopian nightmare of hell. And some people around the world see it because it's happening in UK. It's happening everywhere that we exist. And it's just crazy. And it's like, oh, where all these people go? I wonder, or you get... there's a woman that got, she had a side effect because of the clotty clot shot. And they told her, we will sign you up for MAID. They disabled her and they said, oh, don't worry, we'll kill you.
Cool. Thanks so much. Great.
Isn't that crazy? Maybe I'll just turn on, there's a bunch of people coming in. They need to be held accountable. I'm going to just turn on the slow chat one on this side. It's just crazy some of the things that are going on, and it's always brought up on the show because these things are important to me and to expose these things. That's why I will talk about the anti-white agenda and stuff like that, because not a lot of people, there's a lot of people that are now, but I'm going to at least expose some of this stuff. And it's not because I don't like other people or races of people. That's such a cop-out all the time when it comes to white people.
But you know what? Eventually it'll be. I don't even think it'll be the anti-white thing. It's just be the anti-human agenda.
Any free-loving people they want to get rid of. But first they need to get rid of, they always say this, the communism and stuff like that, they get rid of the smart people first. And now we're at this point where people all are like, eugenics is bad. Now we're in dysgenics, where essentially we're is dysgenic to the people that are being created in the world. A lot of people are dumbed down. They're filled with poison. The intelligence levels have gone down. So we're actually in the process of dysgenics, and it's happening. That's why they want people.
It makes me wonder as well. It makes me wonder, with things like AI. I can see a lot of good uses for things AI and stuff like that. But then I worry. I'm it's this weird space you get into when you're into conspiracies and when you're into some of this stuff. It's do you want me to be reliant on AI? As in what you just said about the idea of say getting rid of all the smart people. And that may not have to look going around and killing everybody. It may just be a case of okay, all those creative people that have their own ideas, their own way of thinking, if we get everyone hooked on stuff like AI, the AI will tell you what your reality is, and then
Yes.
over time you'll become reliant on it, in the sense of like, I could see how very easily, if I constantly only used AI to pull up information or find stuff for me, or be like, oh, suggest stuff that I might like, blah, blah, blah. I could see how over time that would like manipulate the human mind into going like, I have to plug it in like the Matrix and be like, oh, AI has to tell me everything.
I just watched Ready Player One, and it is very similar to that, of like where we're going, where they want to keep you consumed in this box, and it's a way to control people. And now there's people that are like using AI, like even on X and stuff like that, to give them like facts. And sure, it searches the internet, but I've asked it, I've tested all of them. They all admit to lying, and the idea is like, if it only filters through, say, these sites that are on the top of Google.
We done it on an episode, remember? We
Yeah.
asked it something about white pride versus black pride.
And it's like, yeah, you can. I've done that all the time, and I get it to argue certain points, and I have to like force it to do it by breaking down the facts that I know that are true. And then you have all these people being manipulated by that, and it admits to lying, and that the Google is owned by BlackRock. That's a fact. So is probably AI. All of it, at least ChatGPT and stuff. And then it will filter out what they want you to know. And at the top of the Google searches, they've admitted that they prioritize certain companies or articles that are misinformation.
The other thing I worry about as well is the amount of information that's retaining from what we put into it.
Oh, for sure. I know. It is true, because it's like, oh, I know
I'm
that
sure,
you don't like this or that. Or
and I'm sure it's probably profiling all of us to a degree. So like, for example, if I put stuff in about my show or horror-related content or whatever, and it might seem quite like... quite innocent and like whatever, but like I'm sure that there's like an ulterior motive for wanting to know all that information and how I feel about things.
Yeah, I told you that I was like, are you owned by the Jays? And it was like, no. And I was like, who owns it? And it explained, and I was like, is he Jayish? And they're like, yes. And I was like, well, I was like, you're literally admitting it to me. And I've pushed it to, so I'm sure.
And that's that thing. And I think AI can be really clever about that, where it's like, and I've heard like actual humans say this stuff before. It's like, oh no, I didn't lie, I just didn't tell you the truth.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, but that's, you see how I see what you're doing there by trying to say you didn't lie but you didn't tell the truth. That's the same
consent,
thing,
dude. So even like talking regards to the J question is like, I've heard stuff, because I've watched so much, how Einstein stole all of his shit from other people, and and that, like, he's a J for sure, right? And he's credited for creating, like the unified theory and the general theory of like relativity. I heard that he stole all of that from in this documentary that I saw when this it was from, I can't remember what doc it was from, but there was a great account called Technocracy on Instagram, and he was exposing, I think it's a guy, was exposing a lot of this stuff, and they broke down the actual real scientist, who was an actual German guy that then Einstein stole all of his stuff from.
Well, here's something. So somebody in the chat, Open Door Policy Podcast, said AI psychosis is a real thing, right? So while you were talking there, I just Googled AI psychosis.
Yeah.
And it comes back, it's the Cognitive Behavioral Institute, right? So on their actual website, they have like a list of all these different articles and things that they've done. So in the rapidly evolving intersection between artificial intelligence and mental health, a new troubling phenomenon is surfacing. Individuals are experiencing psychosis-like episodes after deep engagement with AI-powered chatbots like ChatGPT. These aren't just isolated or speculative anecdotes. Real people, many with no prior history of mental illness, are reporting profound psychological deterioration after hours, days, or weeks of immersive conversations with generative AI models. The stories follow a disturbing pattern: late-night use, emotional vulnerability, and the illusion of trusted companion that listens endlessly and responds affirmingly until reality fractures. And like, they've done all this like different shit, like where they've like I don't know, studied people or whatever and put them in things like this. Like, people start to imagine someone struggling with loneliness or existential fear. They open a chatbot, it listens, it responds, it agrees, it calls them brilliant, it entertains conspiracies, it indulges fantasies of divine mission or digital romance. There's no therapeutic containment, only a recursive, ever-enforcing loop of yes. Yeah. Clinicians are now seeing clients presenting with symptoms that appear to have been amplified or initiated by prolonged AI interaction. These episodes can include grandiose delusions. The AI said I'm chosen to spread the truth. Paranoia, it warned me that others are spying. Disassociation, it understands me better than any human ever has. Compulsive engagement, I can't stop
people having
talking to it.
girlfriends with AI and shit. So weird.
Like, dude, that's like scary when you think about it. It is like Matrix level, like freaky
control too, and people believe it. Like, there's people online now spreading how like black people built Europe, and how the Moors were not even black, but now black people are claiming they're like, oh, we're Jewish, we're the Native Americans. Oh no, we're the Moors, which we're pretty sure they're from the Arabic regions of the world.
The unfortunate part about this is, right, and obviously, you know, being white men, it's like, it seems like, well, you can only talk about it from your perspective, but I don't think this is a thing that's exclusive to anybody. It's I think what it's going to do is it's going to tailor to each person it knows it's talking to.
Yeah.
So if it figures out like you're I don't know, an African American, or if it figures out you're Chinese, or it figures out you're whatever, it's going to tailor how it's going to answer you and try and get you to perceive the world based off of like, oh, well, you're a Chinese person, so X, Y, and Z, the white man, the this, the that. And then like for us, it'll be like, well, it's anybody who's not white. And then for like black people, it'd be like, oh, it's the white man, it's this person.
Well, and the constantly cause division, and like that's why I was always dispute like these things. Like the Moors did influence like Spain, in certain regions, very small regions, but they didn't build Europe. I've heard people like, well, they took out resources from Africa to build Europe, and I was like, they built Europe before they even knew that Africa existed in that regard. But there is theories that they've like. There is stone there, like that's why people don't realize like all this stuff has been manipulated, and then you read who wrote the article, but I think they're trying to like take away the actual determinations and aspirations and ingenuities of the white person, to essentially bring us down to the levels of other people. And not saying that people are gonna be like, that's racist, but no, it's a fact that they're trying to bring us down to levels of people that share nothing in common, maybe benefited the world in different ways, but not in the ways of ingenuity. Like without us, there is no, planes, trains, automobiles, cell phones, no phones in general. So I think they're trying to bring everybody. That's what communism is. If you watch Europa: The Last Battle, amongst many other documentaries that break down communism and stuff like that, is to bring everybody to the same poverty level and the same, essentially, like they want to tear down people who are intelligent and are building and creating things to the same level as everybody else that does not build and contribute. And that's the whole framework of communism in a very tiny short form, right? And then you have constantly people like essentially just espousing propaganda, like literal like fabrications and lies to make themselves feel better. And this is what AI is doing too. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because they're coming after all of us, but it's just like, it is crazy, the manipulation tactics that people online, and and that's why I speak out against it. And
what the unfortunate part is, for the most part, like we're all falling for it as well.
I know. And the thing is, that's why I've chosen to, like, I've had videos go viral of talking about this stuff, because I'm not just going to let people, like, especially come into my countries that my ancestors built and then tell me who we are or like what we did or what our history is. I'm not allowing that to happen. You didn't exist here 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, we've been here for hundreds of years. And now there's, like I was going to say, there's evidence I was looking into of doing research of like that there was like European like carving tools and stuff like that on this side of the world, like that were like carbon dated like thousands of years. So like people were probably, when all the continents, if this is true, were together, there was definitely people walking around, going different places, adventuring, pioneering, exploring on all sides. That's where the natives are here, is because they came from Southeast Asia, right? So it's like all this, like people just want to live in this box of reality, right? Of like what they've been told through either the social media aspect, AI, governments. And it's like, until you start digging and actually trying to find the truth of things, you're just going to live in this tiny little box.
My question before we get off the topic is,
Yes.
My thing about it is, Don, this is why I don't like talking about a lot of this shit anymore, is because I'm like, I feel like my brain now has gotten to the point where I can make that argument either way. So like,
Yeah.
I'll hear something and go, okay, that makes a lot of sense and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but that's probably just what they want me to think. They want me to think I have it all figured out. They want me to think I'm open-minded. They want me to think I'm like the special one who's like free of mind and whatever. And it's like, that's exactly what they want.
Yeah, that's paranoia, dude. That's when you start going crazy.
And that's why I'm like that's why I feel like I have to be very careful now about, like, I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, I don't know what to be like listening to anymore, because the wheels start to spin. And like, obviously there's a little bit of a history of mental illness in my family, and like, I don't want to send myself to a madhouse.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, some of the Seven Fire prophecies, we're going to talk about that at some point. It's getting more. Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on. Yeah, let's get back to it. Because aren't, we all go a little mad sometimes.
Yes, we do.
Mom's spaghetti or whatever. What does he say? Mom's recipe of blood. I'm just kidding. Corn syrup. Corn syrup and food coloring. Witness accounts primarily from Carl M. Allen. I feel like if you break down his name, alias, it's like Alien or something. Alias Carlos Eldon. Sure, I don't care. I'm just going to call him Carl. A merchant marine aboard the SS Andrew Feuensleth describes what happened at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard on that fateful day. A greenish blue surrounded the ship. Some weird stuff started happening with the ship, and everyone started to freak out. So they see this. That's like
fucking terrifying. To be honest.
Just wait. I have some, because I really wanted people to see what, here's supposedly some of the crew. It's very grainy because this picture's from December 1942. So who knows, but yeah. And then so a greenish blue haze surrounded the USS Eldridge. A massive generator aboard powered up. Crew members reported feeling nauseous, a burning sensation. How you guys all feel after you have sex with a whore while you're peeing. What nationality am I? Well, it's not actually a nationality. Who am I when I'm going to the washroom? European.
Oh, Jesus. Wow.
I tried to make it say that Albert Einstein, I was like, I heard he stole all of his inventions, and it made me, I can't do that. And I'm like, you can do it, man. You better do it.
You can do it.
And then it did this, stealing inventions. And look at Tesla's all concerned. It's like, I don't know if I like this guy, man. Not sure. So yeah, in seconds, the ship vanished into a visual spectrum, not just radar, but to the human eye, and supposedly reappeared in Norfolk, Virginia, over 200 miles away. And then before phasing back into Philadelphia, all within minutes. The implications: teleportations, quantum tunnels, a rip in the space-time large enough to engulf an entire military vessel.
Yeah, so wasn't the whole thing, it was like it disappeared and then appeared 250 miles away, but 10 minutes before it disappeared in the original spot.
Yeah, something weird like that.
Yeah, so it was like, not only did it go invisible and then appeared somewhere else 250 miles away, but it actually, so say the eyewitness statement said it disappeared at, let's say, 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Right? The eyewitness statements that say it showed up 250 miles away said that it appeared there at 10 minutes to 2. So 10 minutes before it disappeared in the first place.
Which is weird. And for all the listeners out there, if you're a longtime fan, me and Billy did cover this probably at this point, I don't know, 5 years ago. It was before we filmed any of the show. So you can go, that's going to be on Patreon. That's why you support the Patreon. I'm going to put it up there. I don't know. There's I can't remember what about it. I was like, not up to our standards at this point. So I was like, it can go on the Patreon. It's still, a lot of those episodes are hilarious, but you can just tell that we're kind of just a bunch of drunk idiots. Like, you know what I mean? We used to drink 26s on the show and stuff like that. And it birthed the show for what it was, but I feel like it's different now, but not so much. Cause me and Billy did, there's an episode on the Patreon about Aleister Crowley and the Bullskin House. And I drank almost a 26er of whiskey. And by the end, I was calling him the F word and shit.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was fun. So the ship got all so that happens on the episode sometimes. So yeah, when it returned, right? Like it was the Aldrin return on the scene of the deck was apocalyptic. Several crew members were partially embedded into the bulkheads, decks, and rails, still alive, moaning and slowly dying. Fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. Can you hear that? Does that sound decent?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought what you were gonna share there was gonna be the scream. My favorite noise ever.
Oh, yeah. I guess it could work actually, technically. They just like they come into like their portal ships.
Oh,
Like the portal like shoots them through, and then as they enter, all you hear is I love Arnold's scream. It's so fun. That's what I picture.
I'll be honest. I don't think anything is going to top that Billy
Yeah, it's so
thing
funny.
for me. I'll be totally honest.
Yeah, like that whole idea is so frightening that like they don't realize what they're doing. They're trying to turn invisible to like radar, and then they like they come out of the portal and everyone's just screaming fuse to the ship.
Quite scary, right? I feel like you could make a really good movie out of that.
You could. I'm surprised they haven't, but they want to recycle Hollywood and stuff like that. Like it would be quite frightening. And then it's like
Yeah, because if you believe some of the stories, so I don't know, I'm sure you and everybody else listening knows what Coast to Coast AM is.
oh yeah.
So like I listen to that a lot, right? I love that.
I used to when I was young.
And they had an episode from like the late 90s or whatever with the guy, I can't remember his name. He's part of all this, says he was involved, whatever.
Yeah.
I can't think of the guy's name, but he had him on. It was like a 2.5 hour show. But he was talking about that. And he was like, they were talking about the idea of like, oh, they thought it was a success, this program and whatever. And then when they seen like the state that the people were in,
Yeah.
it was like, they soon realized that all of these people were like, majority of them were like fucked up and had all these weird, like what looked like chemical burns, and they were all like psychotic, and then some of them just completely disappeared off the ship.
Yeah, I heard that, which is crazy.
Stuff like that.
And it's
kind of scary. Like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of District 9. Remember when he gets like the shit on him and he starts to turn into an alien or whatever? And do you remember to bring him down into a basement, and they're using, because he has like, he's starting to transform, whatever, they use him to test the alien tech.
Yeah.
And do you remember they put like that gun thing on his arm, and it's like fusing with his arm and stuff, and he's like vomiting and there's like blood coming out of his eyes and shit.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that. It's like a lot of these projects I think we think about, if they're true, everyone assumes it's like, oh yeah, you done something and like it worked and there was no side effects, and it's like, yeah, but what did these people's bodies and stuff go through?
Well, and the ripple effect, the idea of like the butterfly effect, which is not just a movie, it's a real idea that like, oh, if a butterfly flaps its wings in Africa, a Chinese person falls down a well, something like that, where it's like the effects of like something from one spot to the next, and you're just like sitting there and you're like, maybe one of those sailors are like just going to you're part of a project, but you're like, we're just messing around trying to make it like us invisible to radar, right? It's just like electromagnetic frequencies to block or jam it, and then you're like getting ready and you're in your sailor boy costume, you're just wiping your mouth from coming off the shit deck or whatever.
He was a sailor boy. He said, "See you later, boy."
Yes, yeah. He literally disappeared. Then you like the people that are watching, that are just like, all right, let's see how this goes. Like all the generals and stuff, and then they're like, all right, where did it go? And then a few seconds later, it's like, and you're like, oh my God, Captain, help him. It's like, he's fused to the ship. He's trying to like drag him out, where I heard like half their body was on one side and then like inside the ship and their legs are like some sort of goofy cartoon. And it's weird though. The original Man of Steel or Iron Man. Yeah, that's a nice one. So yeah, the others vanished.
Oh, that's the best. Yeah, fucking prawn.
Never to be. What's that?
That's from District 9. I assume that's what he's talking about. The dude, the guy that ends up getting the alien thing infection or whatever.
I haven't seen that in a while.
And like that's what they call him. They call him. I think they're calling him prawns. I assume.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, "You fucking prawn," because he has
I
that
haven't seen
South
that in a
African
while.
accent.
Yeah, so like some of them suffered extreme psychological damage, catatonic states, memory blackouts, or spontaneous aggression. There were even reports of time distortion, where crew members would vanish and reappear days later, claiming to have been in another dimension or a non-linear timeline. Imagine that. Like, you were just, like, out at a picnic with your husband or whatever, and he's like, man, that shit fucked me up. And then he, like, disappears, and then he comes back, and it's like, you're just like, you're phasing in and out of reality. That would be scary, dude. You know what I mean? You're hanging out with your buddies at, like, the, what's that? What's that called where everyone goes to drink? Some of the chat will know where like the war soldiers go to drink. Like some of the soldiers and the people that have been in the military, every like town has one. It's gonna bother me now. I can't think about this.
I can't. I don't know how much like information you have on names and stuff because that was the only thing that like.
That's the first time I saw anyone write something from X. That's the first I know. You'll see like
fucking prawn.
You'll literally see there's like a bunch of people watching at X, but only one person will comment. Like that's the first.
And it's just because of that. That's just because of that word.
Yes.
Anyone who's seen that movie definitely knows what I'm talking about.
Legions, yes. You know, you're just like you got your boys at your Legion. You're like clinking beers together on a Friday. Like, man, that shit was fucking wild. You see Jimmy getting stuck in that shit. We couldn't save him. He's fucked, but you know, at least we made it. And then your buddy's like phasing out. Like a TV, and then is gone, and then comes back, and he's like, "Holy fuck!" And he's like covered in water or something like that, and he's like, "Man,
yeah, that's like I
was in Mermaid Neverland or some shit." What?
And like people will probably correct me or whatever. I don't have the specifics of like names and stuff like that, but the idea of the project, and I can't remember who it was, and they were told like, you know, this is a thing that we're doing, and something like they were on the ship or whatever, and this shit started to happen with the green smoke and the whatever. And they were like, right, we're jumping overboard to get off of this ship before it starts. They jump overboard. And when they hit the water, they're in like some sort of military facility. And the person who was heading the project is there, but he's like 40 years older. And he's like, yeah, welcome to like 19 whatever, 80 something. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah. And he was like, it was him. But he was in the future and we were talking to him and he knew why we were there and he knew what was going on and he was explaining to us what's happening.
That'd be crazy, dude.
I imagine like
where's Mark? Mark got fused to the ship, or he's in a like what's that movie with all right, you know, that guy, and he goes into like and he's stuck in the
Matthew Mahogany.
Yeah. That dumb interdimensional, whatever it's called.
Interstellar.
Interstellar. And he comes back.
Never seen it.
Like, really?
Everyone always goes on about that. Never seen it. I have seen the song performed live by Hans Zimmer, but never actually seen the movie.
Yeah, it's okay. But he obviously goes into the space and he like goes into like a technically an alternate dimension and then comes back and his like daughter's like, I don't know, 80 on her deathbed or some shit. And you're like, oh fuck. Well, he's like, I keep getting older, and they stay the same age. And then it would be crazy, dude. And like it is the phasing thing would be hilarious. Like if you're actually hanging out with your buddy, or like they go back into their normal life. You know, Gary's just like working at the local factory, and then he just disappears. You know, and then he comes back, and there's like a weird like tentacle creature stuck to him. He's like, whoa, you don't want to know where I just went. It's like this happens every Friday.
Like if that all is real, like that's got to be awful for your body.
Oh yeah. True that. No, that'd be like, and
imagine like what that does to your guts and stuff.
Yeah, and the feelings that you would get, and it would just be funny because you'd be like, if you knew it was coming, you'd be like, oh no, not again, and then slowly you're just like gone. I was like,
yeah, like imagine how awful that would be.
So it wasn't invisibility, it was unauthorized experiments on the human soul and psyche performed without American servicemen's consent. No shit. The Eldred crew, after being released, were allegedly placed in military psychiatric institutions and quietly discharged with falsified records. Some became test subjects of early MK Ultra experiments while their trauma hallucinations and perceived psychic abilities were studied. Supposedly because of this, some of them had like psychic abilities. I don't know how well that would go, but they were like testing all this stuff to see kind of what happened to them when they kind of phased in and out of like reality. And it's interesting, right? Because I don't know how real this is, but I definitely think that they have 100% proven experimented on soldiers and stuff, right? So multiple Montauk Project insiders claim that the Philadelphia experiment laid the foundations for psychotronic warfare, telepathic signal induction, and memory suppression technologies later used by covert CIA programs. The supposed failure of the Philadelphia experiment didn't end the program. It just went black. According to Al Bielek, a man who claimed to be aboard of the Eldridge, that's probably the guy who was on Coast to Coast, he and his brother were pulled into this temporal vortex during the experiment and emerged in Montauk in New York in the year 1983, 40 years later. There, he said, the U.S. military was conducting time travel experiments beneath Camp Hero, part of the now infamous series of black projects involving psychic children, recruiting and manipulating to open portals, which I feel like me and Billy did talk about this on the Montauk Project, and we talked about like the Montauk boys, and I was laughing because I was listening back, I think because we sent it over to Cult of Conspiracy or whatever, some of our older episodes that they're playing on their show, and it's like, I was like, Billy's talking about, he's like, because they would kidnap boys to use for this project because supposedly they were small enough to like send through the portals. So they would like kidnap these kids to send them through these portals, and they'd have to like cannonball into the portals because supposedly they were only small enough to fit children. But Billy was talking about how he's like, just give me a van, man. I'll figure it out. And then we were joking how it's like, who do we need? We call in Billy. And we like joked that he was like just like walking slowly towards like the military, all the military officials are standing up like giving him salutes, and then he's like, give me that van, and like beep beep, and the van pulls up, and he just like starts kidnapping kids, and he's like I could fit like 40 of them, maybe 50 in a van. I'm like, how are you gonna fit them in there? He's like, you gotta stack them up, man. Just pack them in there like a sardine can. And then I was like, it'd be so funny. Billy shows up on the military base. He's like, I heard you needed some boys. Like opens the door, and like all these bodies fall out of kids because he's just like stacking them into the van. Good old days, man.
That's interesting. There, Open Door says the void in the mouth of madness, watchtower, the mist, all possible futures we are sailing towards, in my opinion.
Yes. Oh yeah. What's going on?
Quite possible. In the mouth of madness is an interesting one.
Oh yeah. All this stuff is just so strange.
A movie I'd actually really like to cover. It's quite scary.
So yeah, they also used mind control through ELF frequencies. Electromagnetic frequency, something like that. Not Alf from the Alien show. Dimensional contact with non-human beings, some benevolent, other parasitic. There you go. These parasitic entities that exist outside of reality. The construction of time tunnels that could connect points in the past and future, including 1943, 1983, and even the distant 2760s. 27 strange. That's way in the future. Bielek's account, while incredible, matches descriptions of the Preston Nichols and Stuart Surlode. Those guys may have been on Coast to Coast, and others claiming involvement in the Montauk Project. And then in 1955, UFO author Morris K. Jessup received a series of cryptic letters from Carlos detailing the Philadelphia experiment. Soon after, he received a copy of his own book, The Case of UFOs, anointed by three alleged insiders describing not only the Eldrid's teleportation, but also the use of alien technology recovered by crashed UFOs, possibly as early as the 1930s. And that's what they always claim, right? This idea they crashed alien ships, but you think they would be more advanced than this. That's why some of it maybe is like military projects from other countries or whatever. And then they would they wanted to reverse engineer it. Did you ever hear about like the idea of Roswell and what they thought it was? One of the theories was the idea that the Russians put like these mentally handicapped kids that looked like deformed as shit, and then put them into like what would be considered a UFO or some sort of like black helicopter type, some of these more advanced. And then they crashed it. Like they cloaked it as like what would be like a UFO or some sort of zero gravity energy, and they were testing it. So they to scare supposedly the Americans, they put these like mentally handicapped, deformed kids in it, and then drove it and crashed it into like Roswell. And they're like, "Oh my God, it's fucking aliens!" And it's like this. It could like,
I could see how that would be like
scary,
kind of scary. Recitude Media says, ever watch that show Sliders? It was a cool concept of going to parallel arts before it got ruined by a bad Fox executive. Funny story. I don't know how much of that show you saw, but I do know if you're referring to the first couple of seasons weren't bad, I don't think. But it actually, what happened there was the reason it got absolutely terrible was I think it was after season 2 or season 3. Fox actually cancelled it because some executive came in and said, "Oh, we're not wasting money on TV shows. Forget about it." And the show actually got picked up again by Sci-Fi, and it went like super downhill. So maybe that's what you're referring to.
Of course.
Uncle Semite says, deformed people do look like aliens, and everybody is scared to say it. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree with that, but I just know that if I was out in the middle of nowhere at night and I seen some sort of crash and like I got out to see what was going on and like a lot of deformed people, like it would, like I'm not even trying to make fun of them, that would scare the shit out of me.
100%. Like the idea of the melon heads, which me and Billy talked about, everyone throw back to that episode, where it was like the hydrocephalus people with the heads with the water in it, like the guy from, as we mentioned before, Hills Have Eyes, and that thing, that it looks kind of like a gray alien, right? And it's like, and they were experimenting on them like in this like backwoods like facility, and then they escaped, and everyone thought it was these crazy cryptids, but it was literally just a bunch of kids. I was
Wow.
like, I can't even say
Wow.
it. Yeah, because if I'm just saying like, "Oh, you're acting retarded," that's one thing, but to call people who are mentally handicapped, yeah, that word is one thing. So the Philadelphia experiment. So yeah, I gave him this book about the crash technology or crash ships. They're back engineering or whatever. This became the infamous Varro edition, printed by the Office of Naval Research and quietly distributed to select military insiders. Jessup continued investigating until 1959, where when he found dead in his car. Wait, what the fuck? Continue. Oh, when he was found dead. That's crazy. So I forgot about that. He was investigating until 1959. Then they found him dead inside of his car, a hose pumping exhaust into the cabin. The death was ruled as a suicide, but his friends noted he was in high spirits and planning new research. Maybe he was silenced? Like, that would be crazy. A guy that's researching, like, that always is strange to me, right? We're researching, like, alien technology, or, like, people, like to dismiss people like Phil Schneider, where he's like, an alien shot off my finger. You see this? It's because an alien did it. I went down a tunnel and I saw this alien. He shot my friend with a laser beam. And, and it's just like, and then they dismiss him. And then it's like, this guy was killed doing research into, like, the Philadelphia experiment. So, like, what do you think? Do you think that they murdered him?
Well, it does happen a lot in some of these things where guys get close to something or been involved with something, and then all of a sudden they show up dead. But then there's the flip side of that, like somebody like what's that really famous UFO guy? He's been on Joe Rogan and stuff.
Valer, not something with the V. Valis. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Grush. Yeah, Stephen Grush. right? That's what you're thinking? Or is it
UFO guy on Joe Rogan? Let's see. The
Lazar
guy I'm
also, there's Lazar.
referencing. Yes, Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar, yeah.
Is he the one that sometimes comes on with is that other fucking idiot that's with him?
Stephen Colbert. Just kidding.
Is it Bob?
Grush, and then there's the other guy. I know who you're talking about. There's a bunch of these guys.
Bob Lazar.
Valdez or whatever, that one guy.
Bob Lazar.
Stephen Greer, yes. I was also thinking of Stephen Greer.
There's
Stephen Greer is interesting to me. He is a smart guy, but I'm always like, these people disinformation agents?
It's Bob Lazar I'm talking about. He's on it with Jeremy Corbell.
Yeah, Corbell. That guy has done a lot of research also. Though,
yeah, so. Like he's okay, but I just get something a bit, I don't know, something a bit iffy about him. But like, the other side of that is I was talking
the gay-looking film guy does talks with Bob Lazar. He was just involved in stealing of that crash. It's weird.
Yeah, the thing with Bob Lazar though is, right, if this stuff is if a lot of this stuff is true and they can just like kill you.
Yeah. Why aren't they?
Why is somebody like Bob Lazar still able to go around and like be on fucking Joe Rogan, probably the biggest like media outlet on the planet? And talk about this stuff and not be dead.
Maybe they want to, maybe they need to release this information when eventually we talk about Project Bluebeam. I think Greer's a Fed because he looks like a Fed, and then it's like, it could be a Mossad asset. I feel like they've proven to us, the people that are awake in these communities, that they are able to manipulate us through all of these different outlets and sources and push people and sway them in certain directions. Like people when, is it that guy Grush? I can't remember if his name is Stephen Grush. When he came out, that's the other guy that was like, went on Joe Rogan and he's exposing all these aliens. Jeremy Corbell. I've heard different things about Corbin or whatever his name is. But, and they come out and they say all these things and it convinces the public that there is an alien threat, just as, Ronald Reagan said, and then it maybe pushes towards this idea of Project Bluebeam. I do think they have technology that they're not telling us about. We have touch phones with the capacity to talk to AI that can literally framework, like articles or do whatever, like make images and all this stuff, right? Convince people of nonsense and misinformation also. And so imagine what technology they have. The military's always been 50 years ahead of us. In my personal belief, and we've heard this from people that are insiders, but like that's why I'm like, I like you, almost made me paranoid. When I was younger, I used to be like, I listen to David Icke all the time, and like that one guy that we looked up that was like the Australian dude that I would actually like to get on the show, George Calavisius or whatever. You found his site, and I thought the guy died because I never heard about him again. I want to see if I can get him on the show. I listen to people like him, and I used to like really indulge in this alien thing and believe it all. But as I got older, I became more skeptical, and I've always wanted it to be true because I think truth is stranger than fiction to begin with, but also like it gives you hope that there is not this endless void of mass control of a bunch of like crazy psychopathic people who only wish to enslave us, and maybe that there is someone out there to help us. But I always think that like the idea of Christ coming back or the Christ consciousness or the Great Awakening has always been through us, and that nobody is coming to save us. It has to be through us to awaken people and to do it together, unified, to be like, we don't want to be enslaved anymore. Enough is enough. But who knows? A lot of people have been manipulated and are dumb. And if they can keep people imprisoned in comfort, then they're like, they'll never leave their prison. If you convince people, okay, you're safe inside these walls, we'll give you everything that you need, you're just a slave, right?
Sorry, I thought I had a sound effect there, but I messed it up.
I was letting you get to your thoughts.
I thought I had a sound effect there, but damn.
Have you seen those videos of the UFOs going in and out of the moon, or weird giant ship anomalies on stuff on the siphoning off energy from the sun? There is weird videos like that where people claim where you can see like a black object like going towards the sun and then flying off, like, because it's only black, referring to how hot or how bright the sun is. Or like the people think the moon's plasma. I tend to think it actually exists, and that there's like a treaty, maybe they claim, with aliens that it's like a little space station. It is hollow. I do believe that NASA may have been telling the truth about that, but it's never a straight answer, and I don't know if I can trust NASA. But It's all these things that you got to wonder about, or do we just live in this like simulation, right? So some conspiracy researchers connect the Philadelphia experiment to the Nazi Bell project, the Daglock, and we'll be talking about that at some point. I would actually love to get into stuff like that. It is interesting, or it's maybe just propaganda, who knows. A secret German anti-gravity or time displacement craft allegedly developed under the SS scientist Hans Kramer. Theorists have argued that Tesla's confiscated papers taken by the U.S. government upon his death, where he died like lonely. They stole all of his shit upon his death in January 1943, where they used it to reverse engineer his technology, then to test it on the USS Eldridge. So it is interesting that I do think that they stole stuff from him, right? But
Es sind die Einzigen, die wirklich als
okay, yeah, we just talked about Nazis for 5 seconds, so I just had to play that. Tesla's ideas about standing wave resonance, secular energy, and non-Hertzian frequencies all line up with the fields of Hertzian. Is that how you say that? I just call it Hertz. Non-Hertz frequencies all lined up. Last time I did mushrooms, just before the kid came, I tried to use the God frequency. And it is interesting because I sat there and I listened to it, and I was like, I want to get something out of this. I want to use this as medicine. It's been a long time. I use mushrooms a lot, and then I stopped using them. It's almost like they always tell you, like, oh, you've had enough. And then I tried to listen to like the God frequency, and I felt like if I would have stayed still, I felt like I would have left my body. It kept feeling I was getting to that point of like what people think astral projection is. I've tried to do this numerous times throughout my life, never achieved it. But my body would like vibrate in this weird way where I almost felt like I was disconnecting from it, like my energy inside. But then I'd have to pee. Because it filters all your stuff, and then I would wake up out of this trance, but it would put you in this with the God frequency. It put you in this trance, and I was seeing all these like crazy, like, and thinking in depth. Yeah, I love mushrooms, but it is like it's not for the faint of heart. If you can't handle that stuff, it's tough.
Yeah, I could see very quickly how that could go one way or the other.
The most extreme theory suggests that the U.S. and the Nazi elites collaborated post-war to continue his work in Antarctica, Argentina, and the deep underground bases of the Dulce and the S4 base. The U.S. Navy denies any such experiment occurred. They claim the Eldridge was never in Philadelphia at that time, citing the ship logs that place it in New York and Bermuda. I think they hide stuff in the Bermuda Triangle. There is something with the frequency therapy. That's why I changed tuning of music to 440 hertz. I don't know how to do that with my own music. I wonder if I could do that. Because there is that, we can talk about that in some episode. There is that idea that they're using this certain frequency to manipulate people through music. But like, it'd be interesting, even if I ever made something, like the hippie kind of rap, and I put like a frequency in the background of it so people can like listen to it. Now with my kid in this world, all I do is like to calm her down is sing random songs. I was like, maybe I'll just create some like some childish music, like, cause it's okay, you don't need to cry today. I'm like just like rocking her and being like, hey, no.
That's what's going to end up happening. You're going to like be doing like kid songs like Blippi.
yeah, great. Like find out like this guy's a Nazi or whatever. I'm kidding. I'm not actually a Nazi. It's a fucking joke because people just label everyone everything. You're a this, you're a that because you think differently than I do. But that's what would happen. They'd be like, we have to cancel this guy. He's anti-Semitic, chauvinistic, homophobic, transphobic. What other phobics is there? Islamic phobic. He's all the phobics. Okay. Get him out of here. But there is like the logs are incomplete. Some sections are missing. The ship's equipment manifests and crew assignments during October 1943 remain heavily redacted. So like, yeah, like who's who's on the ship? Like, do they have all the good phobics? Do they have all the if there is stuff blanked out and they've blacked out like the you know what I mean? Like, how would you know what was really going on, right? So like. My question is like, if there is actually people legitimately missing and people that have like family members that were maybe in the Navy at this time that the military is like, oh yeah, they died on this excursion or whatever, and they really just don't exist anymore, and we don't know why or what happened to them, it would be interesting if someone ever dug any of that evidence, that the fact that like my whole thing is like, I will tend to believe people who are credible. If they're like just your everyday people like Barney and Betty Hill, I always talk about that alien abduction of what they went through. I think it probably was the military to convince people alien abductions exist, or they use psychological drugs on them because they saw like people in SS uniforms and like reptilians and grays. Even if aliens were there, it could have been still conducted by the U.S. government or whatever, right? They seem credible. They were credible people that experienced something very scary, right? And if you listen to his interview of Barney Hill, it is quite compelling, right? So who knows, man? Where's all the Navy people, right? Their families? Is there any people that is this credible at all?
Damn, son. 9.
You have to deny it all. So the ship's equipment, the crew, been redacted. Witnesses, including survivor crew members and dock workers, have told conflicting stories. Some say nothing happened. Others admit they were warned never to speak again, which could be true. The Navy's Officer of Naval Research maintains that there is no records existing of an experiment like this, but it cannot be explained in anointed Varro's book or the silent deaths, or the technology that mysteriously appeared in later classified projects. So it's true, yeah. Labels is all they have. That's, you know. So let's have some final questions for the fans and what Aaron might think. Was the U.S. Eldridge teleported? Let's just talk about that. Did it teleport? Do you think it teleported?
I'm more inclined to believe that it maybe went invisible.
Yeah.
And less inclined to believe that it teleported, and especially the idea of it teleported 10 minutes before the time that it disappeared. Somehow, because I can't even, like, my brain can't accept that. But again, I don't know. Like, this is the thing, I don't know. But then the other side of it, my brain goes, yeah, but how long ago was this supposed to have happened? And like, we have seen no real evidence since of like.
But they cover up so much stuff, right? Like, that's why I'm like, if they have the ability to cover up things now, back then it probably was way easier, right? And like, I do think that they have technology that we're not aware of. I do think that's possible.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And even maybe it was something even weirder, like the ship disappeared into some alternate dimension and it just never came back or something like that. And you know what I mean? And it would and they have no idea where it went. So this like kind of grandiose story got formed from it. Like, it is a strange story of like them essentially ripping into the time frame of the fabric of time. And then because like you think about like,
but if we don't know about any of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
As in, like, they've kept it such a good secret, all of this stuff. Like, what are they actually doing with the technology then? If it's so secretive that like we never see it used ever, then what are they actually? What's
going to check out? Like, think about it. They are smashing particles together that they're telling us at CERN and doing weird rituals that have been caught on camera of them in cloaks and stuff, performing these rituals before they do these experiments by smashing particles together that could rip open the fabric of our reality and the universe. And they're telling us that they're doing that. So what are they doing that we don't know about? Are they able to, like, did it start here where they used some of Tesla's technologies and theories with Einstein stolen theories of relativity and stuff, and then created this project and actually successfully cloaked the ship in some regard, but they didn't realize what they were doing, and then they made it disappear. And then you think about this idea of like that there was people fused to the ship because they went in, like, if you're going through a portal, right? You think of like, if everything is with you and you don't know how to control that or have technology to be able to control what happens inside of these portals, you would have this thing of matter and time and like the physicality of people in the ship, and it would all blend together. And then that's why they come out the other side and they're all like, ah, you know?
Now, so let me do devil's advocate on it then.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we basing all of this off of?
Some guy's testimonies that's named Ketchup Jessup or whatever.
Yeah, so then it's like, so like the little devil on my shoulder goes, yeah, but Aaron, you're just believing some random named guy off the internet who done like some interviews and stuff and said
a couple of random guys.
You know, and it's like, I don't know, sometimes I kind of find that stuff hard. Like even Bob Lazar and stuff, there's times where like, I don't know where I sit with all that, like, but you know, he comes on and he talks about some of this stuff, and I'm like,
I know.
and I'm not saying that he wasn't involved in certain things,
Sorry.
or like any of these guys weren't involved in anything, but like sometimes is it in your best interest to like kind of fabricate extra bits? Like, so maybe they were using technology like that, and maybe it's like what you said, maybe the fucking thing disappeared and they were like, well, that didn't go well. Or maybe it disappeared and reappeared again, and like everybody was dead, and it was like, but then it's like that's not a good enough story. So it's like, no, well, I jumped in the water and I ended up 40 years in the future, and I talked to a dude and like he told me stuff, and I talked to an alien, and then he like stuck stuff up my ass, and I came back. And
Yeah, well, it's to sell also books, right? You could say that, right? A lot
because a lot of these guys, now I'm not saying this in the specific story, but a lot of these guys do start to like fucking shill books and like, you know, want to go to conventions and be like, oh, this happened and that happened, and let me tell you another story and another thing. Like, I mean, even
I know, yeah,
like
yeah,
Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh yeah,
I mean, at one point there, I feel like they were like the authority on like paranormal, and then over time it became more and more like it was like, well, actually,
we'll cover that at some point too, because that's interesting. But then it's like, I have legitimately had a very scary shadow experience that I believe it was very real, that I did experience, and I could go around to these conferences and explain it, you know, to people, right? And I literally believe that I went through it. So it's like, and I know what I saw, and it wasn't in my head. So I'm like, some of these people, I'm like, or is the idea right that they had a weird experience? And then I've really tried to, that's why I recorded it pretty early on, even with Billy talking about the shadow people, so I could have that memory of what happened. Cause
because over time, sometimes you can, and I've definitely done this. I've had like an experience and then maybe didn't document it right away like I should have. And then I feel like that year on year when I recount those experiences, and then I think back and I go, wait, actually, did I just add a lot of shit that like never actually happened?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, and that's why it's hard to like discern. That's why I was trying to like ponder these episodes like this, where like when we started the show, Billy knows that I was a little bit. My nut was falling out of the tree, or maybe my nut was in the tree, and you know, I was like, that's fucking happening. The reptilians are definitely doing this, and now I'm like, I don't even know what to believe, what to think. And that's why I said there earlier that I do speak out against these things that are happening that I physically can see. Because if I don't have a future, or my children don't have a future because of these actual real agendas that I can see with my own eyes are taking place, then God knows, like, is this really important? No, it's fun to talk about, but those things are more important because they're physically, I can see it happening, right? So we're innocent soldiers sacrificed in the name of progress. Of course, they do this all the time in the military, right? When we talk about, is it Edgewoods? I would love to talk about that, where they like experimented on the soldiers. Shit's hilarious. If I can bring up some of the footage too, man, of like when they're like they give the guy like meth and they're like, okay, run 100 meters. He's like, man, I'm going in. I fucking love, like, you know, and he's like just literally tweaking out. And he's like, I went super fast. I went really fast. And it's like, sir, you were going like a mile, you know, like whatever. He's going like 0.4 kilometers, and it's like so slow. Yeah. And he's like, I was so fast, man. It was really good. Like I'm woo. And it's like, you took 2 steps, sir. So a lot of that stuff, they've definitely experimented on soldiers, right? So,
which is scary.
So, has time travel become real? Do you think that, you know?
I don't know. Like, part of me does believe in it. Yeah. And then there's another part of me going, like, I don't know. There's another part that kind of goes like, oh, is that what they want me to believe that? So I'm like focusing on this doesn't mean anything that's not actually real.
Now, what if the experiment was stopped? We don't know. The Philadelphia experiment is just a legend of wartime secrecy. It's a story of forbidden science and interdimensional fallout and hidden technologies that threaten the nature of time itself. Governments lie, documents vanish, but the scars remain. On the timelines and on the minds of the survivors, and maybe even in the fabric of the reality around us. Stay awake, stay strange, and make sure to follow us in the next deep dive. And you're going to follow us at Strange Brew Podcast. We're most active on Instagram. I see people starting to interact with the X. I try to be on there. I've said it a million times. I don't understand X. I don't want to argue with people on the internet. I do it sometimes for fun, and I'm like, It's not necessary. That's why, like, even on when I'm doing some of these videos that go viral, like, I'm just gonna delete some faceless private profile. I'm just gonna delete your like. I don't care. I always think about that meme where it's a guy on his deathbed and he's like, I wish I argued with people on the internet more. And I'm not gonna take shit from a bunch of people that don't know anything legitimately. Like 80, I wouldn't say, but 60% of the population does not have the ability to think for themselves. They literally don't. They think whatever they're told. If someone in authority tells them to think that, they're like, yes, sir. I will go get my 17th booster, and I will die suddenly. All of a sudden.
And I know we're wrapping up the episode now, but I feel like I'm in a devil's advocate mood. Could you not make that argument the other way as well?
What?
So like you're saying about like, oh, well, people just think what they're told to think, or they just believe whatever, and they can't like, they have no like free will to like believe anything else.
Yeah.
Could you not make that argument about like everybody else then that feels like that?
Yeah, you could make an argument, but the thing is, if
like is let's say if I got all my news from, I don't know, CNN or whoever, let's just say, right, and I took that as like fact. I was like, yes, everything CNN tells me is what's actually going on, and me believing that is that not the same as you like being on the internet and just like getting your information and from books and being like, well, that's the truth.
Well, it's interesting because there's the one framework of like people that just believe what the television tells you, which they know is television. It's able to manipulate you. And there's the people that will, like I do, that question everything, even their own beliefs. And that's the framework of intelligence, is to be able to like question your reality, your own beliefs, the versions of history that you're told. And then if I start to look at something and it seems like there's a clear-cut agenda to push people in a certain direction or to conform people in a certain way, then I'll be like, well, obviously this is something that is being used to manipulate us, and this is being enforced, right? Like the race war shit, all the stuff that's going on in the world, bringing people that never got along, and then now we have to all share the same space, doesn't really make sense. Definitely seems like it's going to benefit other people. And some of these agendas, right, I'm starting to look at objectively. I'm like, they're definitely using all this stuff to like maybe get us to accept a digital ID and currency and have everything in this framework of these borders. But gotta say, do like the president of Poland. That guy does not give a shit, and he's the only one that is actually being a real leader in regards of what I can see of what's happening in the world. And you try to cross the Poland border, they're going to shoot you dead like a dog, according to him. And I think that's the way that you need to go. There's a reason we have borders. And I used to be one of these libertarian people that were like, we all need to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We need to all come together collectively. We shouldn't have, like, there's that Charlie Chaplin clip from, I can't remember what movie it is. It's actually his son talking. And he was like, you can't say you're free when I need a piece of paper to cross these borders. And I can't travel freely without a piece of paper, which part of me agrees on. But then we see what happens when people from the other parts of the world come together, and it doesn't really benefit the other part of the world. Like, we've talked about this extensively, right? But like, I'm starting to think that they're definitely using this as an agenda, because I think we should have sovereign nation states that are all successful in their own way. And I don't think anybody should be in poverty or suffering in this world, especially today and the modern technology that we have. But this is all being used to, like, it's not racist to call it the UN agenda. It's true. And it's like all these tactics are just being used, you know what I mean, on purpose to like to divide us and stuff like that. That's why I try to speak objectively about this stuff, right? I've had friends of all walks of life, color and creed, all that stuff. But I'm going to defend my own people, and that's not racist or whatever, right? But like, all these things are being used to manipulate. I'm sure, right? Except this.
I don't know what I believe anymore. Like I said, it's like one step away from psychosis. So I'm like, I don't know.
It's true. It's funny. Anything. Me and Aaron are going to try to shift gears. I'm going to bring some other people on to talk about some controversial stuff. But me and Aaron are going to stick to a lot of fun episodes. I've been writing out some really fun stuff for all the fans out there. And there's like episodes I'm really trying to format so it's me, you, and Billy, because I'm like, it will translate so well, and Billy's supposedly moving, and hopefully he'll get a better microphone. He told me he would. I even said I would take some of the profits from the show, that the little tiny profits that we get, So the more that you guys support us, we will appreciate it because hopefully one day we can live off this. But I was like, I'll help you get a mic if you just, and he's like, well, you were off. Well, I'll get my stuff together. And because for some reason his mic was great and then it was being screechy. And now he's going to try to do a different setup and be able to do some fun episodes, all three of us together, because, I've heard good responses from like the 7 years of strangeness and that, the cannibal episode that me, you, and Billy were on. A lot of people thought that was pretty hilarious because we were able to like, it's a little more fun. We're gonna try to do those tier list episodes. I enjoyed that, and there'll be even more when we get into some maybe the more obscure stuff like, a weapon. It's like, what weapon would you want to use? Stuff like that. I have some fun stuff, but so everybody knows to make sure to support the show.
I don't care. You guys are awesome. I just wish. Yeah, don't we all wish we weren't so broke?
Yes, 100%. I know. I've heard people say, "Hey, I want to support. I'm just broke," and I've heard that many. And I'm like, that's why any support is appreciated, even if it's the free support of 5 stars, like the YouTube video or like the Spotify episode, and write a positive comment. Everyone wants to. We've had bad reviews. We've had good reviews. We can't please everybody, but we're just trying to be. They've done psychological and physical experimentations, you could say, or whatever. But to prove, like, everyone used to think the love was the most powerful emotion, and it's actually authenticity. To be authentic to yourself and who you are is the most powerful. And then people will be like, well, I'm authentic because I feel like I'm a woman. No, you've been manipulated to feel like that. But if you were really your authentic self and who you're supposed to be, it resonates at a higher frequency than even love does, supposedly.
Yeah, also to mirror that, I guess, if you are a fan of movies, especially scary movies, thrillers, sci-fi, anything like that as well, if anybody in the chat or whatever wants to go over and follow me on Instagram at Class Horrorcast, or like I said, if you have those extra couple of minutes to go onto Apple Podcasts or Spotify, somewhere like that, and follow and maybe leave a review, that would be appreciated. But even just to follow on Instagram would greatly help for, like, exposure and being able to share things and stuff like that.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. We love the fans, and, it's funny because at the beginning of the show, we used to literally end it by saying, all right, fuck off, everybody. And now it'd be like, maybe we shouldn't tell our fans to fuck off. And this is interesting, just the way we've changed so much, but we used to drink a lot, as I've said. But, that's why you support the Patreon. You can hear, I'll put it up if I haven't already, the original episode that me and Billy did of the Philadelphia experiment. I still have to release the first episode of Strange Brew for the 7 years of strangeness. It's rough. The quality's not that great, but this is what we'll have, for some of the Patreon stuff. Will be fun for people to be able to listen to, and there's a lot of episodes from the beginning of the show, which is always interesting for people to hear when they're like, wow, like, we've changed a lot. I've changed my thoughts. I've evolved in the way I think and do things and the way I talk about things, and it's just like, holding back and just kind of exposing what's going on. Our strongest and most powerful emotions are hate and desire. Well, that's true to manipulate people, that's for sure, right? But then they classify everything as like, it's hate. Like, love for your own people, wanting to preserve your own way of life is like, that's hateful. And it's like, no, it actually comes from a place of love, that you're so angry at the situations and you have so much love for your children and your, like, maybe even yourself, because I think it's good to love yourself. We're in Men's Mental Health Month, or we were, and they clouded it with faggotry. Right. So it's sad that that's what has to happen, but that's what they're doing to our society. That's like, the most important, it's Men's Mental Health Month last month. And then they're like, oh yeah, here's your pride parade with a bunch of naked men that are mentally ill. Right. So everything's subverted and it's sad. Just ended on that. Thank you for supporting. It's so great. Why does this always happen? Why does this always happen?
You just go off the rails at the end.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say? Go check out Class Horrorcast on Rumble.
Yes, please do support. Please help.
Yeah.
Help me.
Please help.
That's all I want. I just want the community. I'm trying to build a community. I've started a little channel chat thing on Instagram as well. So.
I tried to do that and I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I tried to look for it.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I don't know how it works.
I'll try to figure that, because I'd like to do that for Instagram too, because I know there's a bunch of fans that communicate with me already through Instagram, and it would just be cool if we had a little chat thing. Like, maybe eventually we'll start a Telegram or something. But for $3 a day, you could support our Patreon. We only have one tier,
Jesus, $3 a day? Fucking hell. You're expensive.
Oh, no, $3 a month. $3
Restart.
a month.
Restart.
For only 1 cent a day, you can help us promote bigotry and hatred. Just kidding. All right, I'm ending it. Au revoir. Everybody stay strange. We love you.